This beginning was for me to say thanks for 50 subscribers, but I went back down to 48, so, I don't know. We're moving on to the 1,000-year door. If you guys get me to 100 subscribers, I'm gonna move on to a different Mario RPG. That's how it's just gonna work. Onto the list. Game, the myth, the legend, the best Mario RPG. For many. Not for me, though. I think it's the best Paper Mario game. I don't think it's the best Mario RPG overall. But the chapters are mostly very good. So, yeah, that's really what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be doing a chapter ranking. Ranking all 8 chapters. We're not going to be counting the prologue. I feel like that's a little off to do. But here's the thing about this. There's going to be 2 things. 2 disclaimers about this. One, I have beaten Paper Mario The 1,000-Year Door once, almost twice. So just keep that in mind when I say like replayability is just gone, or, you know, memorability is just gone. And the other thing is spoilers are gonna be everywhere. So don't come to me in the comments saying, "Oh, you spoiled me, you jerk." Yeah, don't. If you haven't played the game and you don't want to be spoiled, get off this video, play the game, and then come back. Because obviously I want you guys to watch this video. I worked very hard on it. Other than that though, honestly, all you have to remember is that I'm taking everything in the chapter into consideration. But it won't consider the stuff with like Peach or Bowser. That just gets ignored. That doesn't really count. But anything that does with Mario, that will count for the chapter. Just keep that in mind, and let's get started on this list. Number 8. My god, I hate the Boggly Tree so much. Now, everyone's really brought up why the Boggly Tree sucks. It's not a very unpopular opinion to not like the Boggly Tree, or put it at number 8. But the first things first is that the layout of the place is just garbage. It's really hard to actually find these places in the map. So that's already something that sucks. And the other thing is that, well, you have to have memorization, which I already hate memorization puzzles. So that's pretty annoying. But something else, there's a couple of things that I don't think a lot of people bring up. Another thing is that I hate the enemies of this place. The only thing that I actually do like fighting are the X-Nauts because, well, you're actually fighting the main bad guy, or the bad guy army. So I guess that's unique of it, but that's kind of like fighting the Shroobs in Holly Jolly Village. So it's not very unique, because obviously they aren't really hard to beat, so that's not really great. But the main reason I don't like this place is the frickin' Punies. I hate how they control. They personally really remind me of controlling Pikmin. Pikmin is a series that I'll never get into, and it's for many reasons. But one of the main reasons is because that the Pikmin, for me personally, control horribly. I don't like that they sometimes just have minds of their own and that they just randomly die because of it. It gets very annoying for me, and it really does relate to the Boggly Tree. I think you guys understand how I feel about the Boggly Tree. But there is still some stuff I find either okay or good. Now, the stuff I find okay is the timer. I think it's decent. I think it was a good idea, but the layout and the bubble thing just really annoys me with it. The thing that I also find okay is the boss. I don't think it's a bad boss. I think it's fine, but it's not, like, amazing. It's just, nah. Again, it's just Lord Crump in a mech outfit, so it's not huge. But I do find the best thing about this place is the Puny Elder. She's really funny. Especially just berailing some of the characters for just, like, insulting or doing stuff bad. That's just hilarious. Now, those are, like, the only things I could bring it up, but, yeah, this place is awful. I don't like it at all. Number 7. Far Outpost. You know what? No, I'm not even talking about this place. I'm going to the actual good part about this place. Yeah, that's better. If Chapter 7 was just the moon, that's it, this place would be... You know what? There would be a chance that would be in the top 3. There's a chance, but it would probably just be in the top 5 if we're just talking about realness. But the thing about this place is that It's really cool. You get to fight all type of X-Nauts. You don't get to fight Grotus, which is definitely disappointing, but you do get to fight Lord Crump for the very last time, which at least is something. But again, in the Boggly Tree, I didn't really care for fighting him just because we already fought him so many times. But the other thing about this, which I do like, is that you get to fight a ton of types of X-Nauts, which is very unique. And my personal favorite part about this place is that you get to see the places that you were at by Peach, but now you're actually exploring it as Mario, which is very unique to me, personally. And it definitely brings this place higher than Boggly Tree, because at least there's a really good place at it. But there isn't just the X-Naut base. I hate that you have to get 2 bombs to get that cannon set up. It's the worst thing about this game. It's the absolute worst. If I do another video, kind of like in Partner in Time, where I do the 3 worst things about this game, that's 100% going on there. And if there was the worst thing about it, that would be number 1. The thing about it is that you have to find 2 bombs. One of them is decently hard. It's not super difficult, but again, you're comparing it to the worst thing about this game. But what you have to do is that you have to go to Poshley Heights and talk to Gold Bomb, which is not very difficult because it really does admire if you actually observe the game, which makes sense. But for General White, oh my god, you have to go to every single chapter and talk to one of the around like 20 or 30 NPCs and tell them, like, hey, have you seen General White? And they'll tell you you have to go to the next chapter. And you do that until you get back to Far Outpost, seeing that General White is just sleeping in one of the houses. Oh my god, it is horrible. It is, if it wasn't for the X-Naut and you going on the moon, this would easily be number 8. There's no questions about it. This is the worst part of the game. It's the lowest point. Number 6. Oof, this is a fan favorite place, so just so I can leave it on a high note, I am going to list the 3 main negatives I have for this place, and then we'll talk about the really good thing about it. First things first, I've played Paper Mario, 1000 Year Door, once, almost twice. So, you have to realize that I know the mystery of this place. If you guys don't know, this is a mystery. When you're on the train, you have to figure out a couple of mysteries. On your first playthrough, it is really cool because you have no idea what to do. So you're actually like asking people and finding out this stuff. On your first playthrough, this is a really good place. But on your second playthrough, and obviously more and more and more, it gets worse and worse because you already know it. And obviously, we got the place where the West Side stop, where you have to stop because, like, there's a bridge that's not down. That place is very unmemorable, which is also another big problem for me. It's very unmemorable. It's very boring. And my third big problem with this place, and I think this is just a personal thing for me, but when I'm at that stop, my game drops frames a lot. It drops probably down to 10 frames per second, which is really garbage for a GameCube game. So, it's not a very enjoyable place to even go to. So, I don't think that's really a problem for everybody. I think this is a problem for my GameCube, so that's not huge. It really only applies to me. But, the best thing about this place is easily the boss. The Smorg is just amazing. I love it so much, just because it takes a boss that comes out of nowhere, but you do see it. Like, you see it, but you don't really think much of it. And that is how to do a boss out of nowhere. And also, the boss is not easy. It's not, like, super difficult like the Shadow Queen, but it's not super easy, which is something that's very good. You'll definitely lose, like, a partner or two, which is very nice. It's kind of like Elder Princess Shroob, where it has a ton of attacks that do a decent amount of damage, which is how to do a really hard boss, but not have it, like, overly difficult. Just remember that if you go through this place again, the mystery aspect is just super boring because you know the solution to it, which makes it obviously worse. Obviously, stuff like the boss just brings me back to it, but other than that, it's just not a good place for me personally. Number 5. Chapter 8, The 1000 Year Door. Holy crap, this is gonna be hard to explain. And we're still in the tier where I don't really enjoy this chapter. Wow, this is gonna be hard to explain. I will say this. Overall, like, if you split it into different parts of the chapter, I think once you start fighting Grotus, then the chapter is really good. Like, you just get to fight all these bosses back to back to back. That is good. But it's also after some stuff that just drags way too long. This chapter is long. That's probably one of my biggest problems with it. It drags on for so long. And also, my other problem with it is that the puzzles are so freaking ridiculous. It literally reminds me of puzzles from Sticker Star, which is stupid. I don't like puzzles that just are super confusing. Kinda like General White, like you really don't have a lead, you just have to like look around and just guess. It gets really infuriating. So, I can see why people like it, but I personally don't. It's just something that it just drags way too long. And some people like that just because it is the final area. But the combination is that the puzzles are super difficult, as well as just it drags on, just makes it not an enjoyable experience for me. But don't worry, this is the last level I don't enjoy. Number 4. Okay, Chapter 1 beats every single chapter so far. This is gonna be super hard to explain. But I will agree that it's easygoing. I will agree that it's a little bit generic. But there's something that really keeps me going with this chapter, and it's the pacing. It's not super fast, but it's very good for a first level. It just goes very consistently, and just stuff happens after and after, which is just very nice. Before you get to the village, you have to just go through and just fight some enemies, which is very fun. It shows you just how the overworld's gonna be. Once you get to the town, you have to talk to a mayor, which messes up your name, which is pretty funny. And then you get to the Thwomp to give you the Thwomp quiz, which is one of my favorite parts of Chapter 1, because it's just so unique, and I love the Thwomp as a character. But then you actually go down into where the Thwomp was hiding stuff, which has the Sunstone and the Moonstone, which you need to get into Hooktail's castle. Once you get those, you have to fight a Gold Fuzzy. The Gold Fuzzy isn't really a hard boss, but it's one of the first mini-bosses in the game, and I'd say it's decent for what it's supposed to be. Once you get back to the town, you go to you get to be with Koops, which Koops is one of my favorite partners, not in battle, but definitely just in the overworld, just using his ability. And then you have to unblock the pipe. Then you get to go to Hooktail's castle. That's just Petalburg alone. The pacing is very fast for a first level, which is very nice. It's very enjoyable comparing it to me just playing Partners in Time with Holly Jolly Village. And obviously I don't like that place. But then you get to Hooktail's castle and you realize how good this game actually is. First things first, you get introduced to Shine Sprites, which is always a very nice thing. But the other thing that happens is that you get really interesting puzzles, like trying to get the cricket puzzle, as well as the spike room, where you have to go through a maze when ceiling of spikes might crush you. Also, getting that unique ability, being able to flip, is always very nice to add. And obviously you have Hooktail as a boss. He's pretty good, because even if you don't have the ability of doing cricket, you still can beat the boss, which obviously gives it more of an option, so that's very nice. But overall, this is a very good first level that not many Mario RPGs can actually compare to. Number 3. Okay. Key Hall Key. Chapter 5 is number 3. Now, this is not a super unpopular opinion to have it this high, and it's actually a pretty normal ranking to rank it somewhere around number 3. But I think this place is very weird because the stuff that's surrounding it, like the characters and the story, is very good. But I think the place itself is very bare bones, which is definitely my biggest problem for it. Also, it's not super memorable. But the last thing I think I can complain about this place is that stupid puzzle you trying to get in, where you have to like stomp on the blue thing 4 times, and you have to hammer the red thing 3 times. It's really annoying, and every single time you mess up, another horde of enemies spawns, which just stinks. But everything else about the place is at least decent. Now let's start off with first, the jungle. I really do like the atmosphere of this place. I personally love the jungle. Anytime that a jungle is brought into any type of game, I am at least gonna like the atmosphere of the place. Now, the other thing that I like is the humor and the characters. Now, let's start off with the characters. The Flavio. The one Mr. Flavio. He is a jerk, and it's really funny because he just gets everything that he deserves, which is just perfect. It's karmic justice, and it's done really right here. And he actually does get enough courage to talk to Cortez. And speaking of Cortez, he is a good character and a good boss. Not as good as the Smorg, but I do think that he is really close to being that good of a quality. Now, the other thing that some people will bring up, talking about partners, but just story-wise, Bomberry is my favorite. Bomberry has such a sad, dark story that's just behind him. And because of it, he doesn't want to set sail. So you have to actually, help him out of his grief. And once that happens, you can set sail. And that set sail right before you get stranded is always really cool to look at. Because it's just very accurate to a pirate being on sea for a long time, which is always very nice. And honestly, it's not much to it, but just all the stuff that's surrounding it is really good, which I guess covers the area being very bare bones. And also the enemies are kind of blech. They're not great, they're not bad, but they're just copies of other ones, so it's not amazing. Overall, though, I do think this is a very good place. It definitely deserves number 3. Number 2. Twilight Town is number 2. Now, this is such a hard decision to pick between number 1 and number 2, but I will tell you this. Overall, I think number 1 is better, but I think number 2 has better pros than number 1. Now, let me tell you something right now. Number 2, Twilight Town, Chapter 4, has great music. My favorite atmosphere in the game. Such a great concept with trying to spell out Duplus's name. Duplus disguising as you. Duplus taking all your partners. Just, there's so many good things. One of the Shadow Sirens joining in. The music of this place. Now, there's all of this, but there's always one thing that will take it down. And that one thing that takes it down is the backtracking. I like backtracking in video games normally. I'm fine with it. But not in this scenario, because your partners are only reduced to 1, and it's not super effective to use that partner on these enemies. So it's very annoying to keep just backtracking both ways. And yes, I do like being able to fight all these enemies grinding and actually using Vivian. It's just annoying to just backtrack this much. I think you have to go back and forth from the Creepy Steeple to Twilight Town around 3 times at least. And that's super infuriating. It just gets so annoying. Now, yes, I do like how creepy the place is. I love that. But again, not everything that this place is so good about can just counter that one thing that makes this place very annoying to me. Even though I do like everything else about it. So, if that one thing didn't exist, that you only have to maybe backtrack once, fine, I would deal with it. But not in this scenario. It's way too annoying. It makes number 1 because it doesn't really have anything that's annoying about it. But let's talk about that number 1. Number 1. Blitzville, Chapter 3, is number 1 because of one reason alone. I cannot find a single thing that's wrong with this chapter. And yes, it does have the mystery aspect that's kind of like Chapter 6. But, guess what? It's not just a mystery factor, which is perfect for this. Because the reason why I don't really like Chapter 6 is because once you are done with the mystery aspect, you're done. You can't do anything else because the replayability of that chapter just goes down to 0. There's nothing about it that I like except for the Smorg boss. In this scenario, there's so much stuff to fight, which is obviously the part that makes me replay the 1,000-Year Door. The fighting. And that's perfect. This is the definition of why people like this game. It shows that the battle system can carry a chapter alone. And that's what this chapter does. And there's these little secrets that goes on for your first playthrough that you don't actually know about, which is amazing. That's what I like in the chapter. If you satisfy both the first playthrough and the second and onward playthroughs. And that's what I like about it. Also, the stuff about getting Yoshi with the hot dog stand, that's pretty funny. And also, trying to trick the boss, the person who runs it, saying like it's a mouse, like you get to make any sound and then just make a really stupid sound, and then it's just like, oh, I don't even remember what it was that he said he thought it was. I don't know, like you just go with anyone and you won't get caught, which is really stupid. But again, I could say all these things about it, and you compare it to number 2 with Twilight Town. I do think if that negative wasn't there for Twilight Town, it would be number 1. But that's the thing about it. This place doesn't have a negative, or that place does, and it's really big that it has that. So, I mean, that's why I love this place. You just can't get a single thing wrong with it. I can try to nitpick, but I just can't find anything. And that's perfect about it. I love this chapter. This is one of my favorite chapters ever in any Paper Mario game. And a lot of people agree on me. Thanks for watching this video. Next video, I'm going to be talking about the partners, but not in battle, only their abilities in the overworld. And since you guys did stay to the very end of the video, why don't you guys subscribe? It will keep the Shroobs alive, and it means I'll still be uploading. And other than that, just don't forget to leave a like. I'm going to peace out. Enjoy my video in the next 3 days.